It's Jacqueline from the CTS Sports Room, coming to you from my car. Because it's Christmas time, and my house is full of people, and I told them I was going grocery shopping, but really, I just needed a break. So I downloaded this new app that we just partnered with. It's SuperDraft Pro. It is the future of fantasy sports. And you can play for cash, prizes, and experiences that money can't buy. Like the peace and quiet I'm getting right now. You can play for free, or you can get their non-gambling subscription. Either way, you can still win cash and prizes. If you want more information, my friend Kyle Murray is going to tell you about it.
It's not easy being the fastest quarterback you've never seen. I'll be right back. There's no quicker way to get into DFS. Play Super Draft today and see for yourself.
SuperDraft Pro and Caesars Entertainment are bringing you the future of fantasy sports. So, if you want to play like a champion or need a break from the family, download SuperDraft Pro today. Play like a champion. Information will be in the link below.
It's the second hour of Bama Thursday, and this time it's the Bama Brigade. I am still Tyler, if you watched the last one, but now I'm joined by Joe, Will, and Clack. How are you guys doing?
I'm good. I'm glad you haven't changed between last show and this one. I'm glad that you still are, in fact, Tyler.
Same.
I don't know what the public opinion of me is yet. Maybe some people aren't happy I'm still Tyler, but you stuck with me for another hour. This time we're the Bama Brigade, and I'll put that up on our little screen real quick. There we go. Go follow the Bama Brigade on Twitter. But we got a pretty big episode. We got a special guest. They said it in the last show. We said it in Rolling with the Tide, but we'll be joined by former Alabama safety and Super Bowl champion Roman Harper, which is super exciting. I'm really pumped to be able to talk to Roman. And we got a lot of stuff, but I think we should start off with Alabama basketball, just because it's going to be a football heavy episode probably. Clack, Alabama saw you were talking stuff, and they went out there in Gainesville and beat Florida.
Yeah, they came out. The first half was not good. I mean, we're not shooting well. We're not doing anything well. The first half of the second half ever was great. We really dominated in the second half, especially on defense. We proved, me and Joe and a lot of other people, wrong with this whole live by the three, die by the three. We didn't shoot the three well last night. Defense won the game for us, and so maybe we can quash that theory of live and die by the three. But yeah, was a much better second half. Was glad to go on the road and get a win, and hoping we can do that again Saturday.
I am not squashing that just because of one game. I
agree. We can work towards that.
No, the jury's still out on that one, but definitely
Agreed.
Me and Clack have been doom and gloom this week about Bama basketball and Bama football, but Bama basketball checked off the first box that needed to be checked off. So maybe me and Clack are just being too negative, which tends to be a common theme.
Oh, trust me. Like I said, I told Joey, I see it all the time, man. Every week, Bama's gonna lose, and then they win, and then it's like, whatever, we did enough to win.
I think Clack rubs off on me too in the wrong way.
I mean,
hold pause. But anyway,
well, there you have it, folks.
Yeah. Sorry, Clack. What were you saying?
I don't know what we were saying. I'm done.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so all the starters finished in double-figure points. That's pretty exciting. Some of them have been in a slump recently. I know, like Jaden Shackelford, I pointed out the last time we had this show, was kind of shooting really poorly. He played pretty decently. The biggest thing I want to highlight right off the bat, though, The reason they won this game, 12 turnovers to 20 turnovers, right? And 85% from the free throw line versus 64%. Those were the two things that were losing them games before. As much as I love J.D. Davison, he was a walking turnover, and we were missing a bunch of free throws. They're free, dang it. And so we finally cut those back, and we finally started hitting free throws, and lo and behold, we won.
Agree. And and it wasn't, there's to me there's two different kinds of turnovers in basketball. When you're, just having bad passes and doing kind of things like JD was doing last week, there's that, and there's defense just absolutely playing lights out and forcing turnovers, and that's how we really got a lot of them. Keon Ellis had a couple, Juwan Gary had a couple. We were just forcing turnovers. It wasn't that they were just, being careless. They were playing great. We were playing better. And, where has this been? We had not been guarding the three well. We had not been doing anything well defensively. And then, the second half last night, we saw what this team is really capable of.
Yeah, just want to say hello to Spencer real quick. True fan, stuck around through entire
Spencer.
Dedicated, yeah, it stuck around through entirety of Rolling with the Tide. Thank you for being here, man. The one thing that worries me, right, is like the next two games we're playing at Mizzou. Mizzou hasn't been great this year, but historically they're like one of the better SEC basketball teams. And then Auburn is on an absolute tear right now. Mm-hmm. And I think they're on the longest win streak in the SEC I saw last night. It was like a 10-game win streak. So how do you guys see those games playing out? I think Mizzou is very winnable. They're not the same Mizzou, but man, Auburn, it is in Coleman, but they're really good.
If the good Bama team that shows up against Houston and Gonzaga shows up, we win. If that Bama team doesn't show up, it's not going to be pretty.
Right, you got to play pretty much perfect, right?
Yeah,
because
I wouldn't say perfect. I think certain aspects have to be perfect.
Like what?
Rebounding. I mean, they have the best center in all of college basketball with Walker Kessler.
Think so? That's high praise.
Rebounds everywhere. Rebounding and not turning it over.
It's a little disrespectful for my boy Chet Holmgren, but
I mean, we dominated him.
That's true.
So
I mean, that's a good sign then, right? Like we dominated him. Why can't we?
Maybe it is. We dominated Holmgren and
Drew Timme.
What's the other centers? Drew Timme.
Yeah. So I also do want to point out we have listed on here. One thing that I don't think we can do against Auburn is the same thing that we've been doing, where we like start off really poorly and then come back and play lights out in the second half. You got to hit the gas from. Yeah, exactly. The Bama basketball special. Honestly, they did it in the Avery days, except they just didn't come out faster at a half. They just started slow and ended slow. So at least in the Nate Oat days, they end fast. But like, you got to come out swinging, right? You can't get in a hole at halftime against a team like Auburn. They will put you in the ground. And so, I don't know. Auburn was the one I was scared of, and LSU, but LSU finally lost. So I'm less scared of them now that they're not like super scorching hot.
They did beat Kentucky, so.
They did beat Kentucky, yeah. So,
yes.
I mean, all three of those teams are pretty intimidating. The SEC as a whole is like really strong recently.
Yeah, there's a time in which we have Baylor, Auburn, and I believe LSU back to back.
That is
two of those on the road, I might add. I'm sorry, Baylor, Auburn, and Kentucky.
Bama's schedule this year has been brutal.
I mean, we talk about how brutal it is, but we also bring up the point that if we can make it through this schedule, not losing too many games, I think we'll be better off for it in the long run, because you start getting close to the end of the year and you get into March Madness. You need that experience against quality teams. You don't want to be playing a bunch of cupcake easy games where your guys can get some of those hard fought gritty wins, and we've seen those so far for sure.
It's a gritty win. Spencer asked, can you remember any Bama basketball team as talented as this year's team? Honestly, yes, I can very easily. I think last year's team, maybe they might not have the sheer one-on-one talent, but they played together and they played like tough enough to make up for it. So I was more impressed by last year's team than I am this year's team. Sheer talent-wise, this team has the potential to be a Final Four team.
I've got a question for both of y'all. I want to see what y'all think. Is there a such thing like as being too talented?
I see what you're saying. Like, everyone wants to play for themselves, right? Because they're like a top dog. I don't think you can have too many good players, but I do think that it runs the risk of personalities rubbing together, right? Like when you're that talented, you also have to have the good mix of personalities. Everyone's got to be willing to
like the Lakers have the best players in the NBA. They also have like the 20th best record because
I was thinking like Golden State from a couple of years ago, KD, right? Like him and Steph, and then Klay Thompson and Draymond Green were all able to fit like pretty well together, and they won 2 championships with KD, like he was saying, and went to another. So you can have all the talent in the world, but you also have to have the right players that are willing to take a step back and willing to, help out the team when necessary.
No, yeah. I mean, that's a good question. I agree. And it's obviously very different than football because football, we're used to having the 5 stars, and football is more of a team sport. Basketball is a team sport as well, but, there's only one ball. So
there's only one ball in football.
Well, but there's more. I guess that was a dumb way to say that.
Messing with you, man.
There's more pieces to the puzzle in football than there's in basketball. And I mean, I think we have yet to see this team get that cohesion. But I think it'll happen sooner rather than later. It's just about kind of getting these mistakes out of our system. Are you guys worried about JD Davison?
Yes.
He's super athletic, but it just seems like the game's going a little bit too fast for him right now. Like he tries to force it a little bit. He's making high school passes in a college game, which is fine. He's a true freshman, but he's been doing it all year and he's doing the same thing over and over again. That does worry me a little bit. Do I think he could be a great player? Absolutely. But has he kind of let me down? Like he's made some incredible plays. But also he's made a lot of boneheaded plays, which kind of worries me because I thought he was, the top point guard in the nation. We have the one guy coming in next year too, right? I think he's the top point guard. What was his name?
Brandon. I can't get his name off.
Brandon Miller?
Yeah, Brandon Miller. I'm sorry.
I'm a fog, and I still knew that. Come on, Clack. You're supposed to be the guy of all Bama sports.
So I mean, we'll see how next year does, but
yeah,
I do agree on JD. He's got a lot of work to do, but
so
he's still a top player.
Spencer pointed out last year's team was weak at center, in my opinion. I agree, but when Herb is getting more rebounds than our center is this year, like it's not a awful thing. When Herb was off the floor is when I think they struggled, like getting out muscled and out grittied. But I think it's the same kind of thing with Charles Bediako this year, right? From what I've seen when he's not out there, like the rebounding is kind of pathetic. But I don't know. That's just my opinion.
Spencer just had a really good question.
Gotcha. What does Coach Oates have to do to be the best basketball coach at Bama ever? Honestly, make the Final Four, right? It's never been done before. That's it. You just got to make the Final Four. Get over the hump. Shoot, anything up from there is a bonus. But once you make the Final Four, like that's already past the edge, right? Because he tied it last year with the Elite Eight appearance.
No, we were Sweet 16 last year.
Sweet 16, yeah. So.
Do you guys check Twitter?
Do we check Twitter?
No. So apparently we're not able to get like Twitter lives. The Twitter live comments will not pull up on here. I'm gonna go check on that now.
What? Why?
Yeah, no, we're still working out the kinks. This is a newer show, so bear with us. I might have to break out this Buffalo Trace whiskey sitting here on my desk if it continues.
Yeah.
Clack's listening to himself. He just likes to hear himself.
No,
talk.
I'm trying to find to see what Sykes is saying over here.
Nah, you're good. It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be a good thing moving forward, though, is to get Twitter to actually show up on the screen. So,
hey, but we're taking control of the social media. We're kicking the old farts off it a little bit, so hope none of them are watching.
Step 1 is just building followers. Step 2 is interacting with said followers.
Yeah, I mean, it's really not that challenging, but we're working on that for sure.
Thank you for everyone, too, that followed us on Twitter the past couple. We got like 100 followers in one day once we took over. But Joe and I carrying the load. And
Clack's been on the road too much, like he's a rock star or something.
So
Anyway,
I think we talked a lot about basketball. We talked about some of the upcoming games, but Alabama is a football school. It's prime football season. We just had a playoff game happen. Oh, let's see. Hold on. We got another basketball thing. JD isn't a concern, but I think he is when he turns the ball over all the time. Right?
I think he's. I wouldn't say he's a concern. I would say that it's concerning that he hasn't developed as fast as we would like him to, but we still have to remember he is a true freshman, and that's something
he hasn't developed fast, but yet the fact he hasn't developed, he still would start on, or he doesn't start here, but I mean that's because of the lineup. He would still be a premier player on any team in the country, even though he hasn't gotten to his prime. He's still a great player.
Yeah, I mean that's a fair point. Like, also he said this time last year Primo was on a lottery pick. Josh Primo was really good for us last year, and he came in clutch at times. But also he was a lottery pick because he worked out really well, and that doesn't help us as much as I'm really happy for the guy. I'm really glad that he did end up going as high as he did, because you always want players to succeed at the next level. And he was good for us. But like when the reason you go to a lottery pick is because you worked out well and you weren't even projected to be a lottery pick going into the draft, he's still a great player, but that doesn't help you as much as if he just, is a top player to begin with.
Well, and we all know, regardless of JD's development this year, he's going to go one of the top players going to be taken in the draft next year, which stinks because selfishly we would like to get a lot out of him as much as we can in that 1 year. But I just don't know.
No, there you go. Christian was always going to be a 2-year player.
He's got to be a 2-year player. He's not ready. Like, you can't go to the NBA turning the ball over. He, as good as he is, he's still raw, and he needs another year. He'll be starting next year. Give him another year in Nate Ed's system. Give guys Colin Sexton was probably the best point guard we've ever had. Give him a year in Nate Ed's system. How good could he have been?
Yeah.
Give him one more year. I agree.
Yeah, no, I want him to stay for 1 year, and I think it would be the right call unless he just completely turns a corner on the season and just blows us all away. But I think it's I don't know, very likely that he could just leave because he's this very highly coveted player, and everybody is looking for those in the NBA.
Well, we always talk about, right? Joe and I talked about, we did our football show for a long time. We talked about Ohio State quarterbacks and putting a bad taste in their mouth. Do you think, obviously Colin Sexton was good, but do you think after Kyra Lewis, people might be a little worried about taking a true freshman Alabama point guard? Kyra was coming into his own, but when you come into the draft and your only plus is speed, that's not a great, immediate contribution.
I think Kyra has more pluses than that, but I also think Kyra needed 1 more year.
Yeah, I agree.
I think
he was
Kyra has got a high ceiling. Kyra has a high ceiling, but he's also in one of the worst places you could go as a rookie. Herb, hats off to Herb for actually being good in New Orleans. Kyra needs better coaching in the pros, and Kyra also needed another year at Alabama under Nate Oates to get better. But I think his ceiling is high. So I think, in the future, I don't think there's any problem with taking an Alabama point guard, but you need one that's experienced, kind of like Sexton was.
Yeah, and also pointed out Kyra was a sophomore. I had a brain fart for some reason. I remember there was buzz of him leaving, and I just, like he said, he was 18 years old, and I just kind of thought, young player as a freshman. But you're right, that's my bad. He was a sophomore.
We're all fogs.
Yeah, I know, we're all fogs. So, do you guys want to talk about some football though? Being a
yes, please.
All right,
I've been quiet.
Yeah, so Alabama played Cincinnati in the Cotton Bowl Classic. The Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic. Got to get the sponsorship in there.
That was not a good year.
Yeah, it was not a good year for Cincinnati. Actually, it was a great year for Cincinnati, I will say. They Alabama did, what one of us predicted. I think I can't remember when it was. Was it Joe? So we were just going to run all over.
Both of us said it.
Cincinnati all said it. And Brian Robinson had a career day, 200 plus yards.
We
No
also,
touchdowns.
I also hold on. I would like to point something out.
Okay.
Shit. Here we
Who
go.
had the first touchdown in the game?
Slade. He had 2 catches, right? But both of them, one was a touchdown, one was like a 20-yarder.
Clack, you said that, didn't you?
Latu had a touchdown, just like I said. Latu's going to be good.
I'm not gonna lie. As soon as Clack said last show that Slade Bolden was gonna score a touchdown, I rolled my eyes. But as soon as he scored in the game, I was like,
Never hearing the end of
Clack
this.
from Ryan. Yeah. Exactly.
No, you're not going to hear. I mean,
hey, but he needs to keep that up this week.
He also needs to learn how to do this when he's fielding punts, but that's a separate thing.
We're not even getting into that. That's just.
Yeah. Well, him and JoJo Earl, I guess, both need to learn how to do that. But yeah, I mean, Brian Robinson, I saw a tweet that epitomized it best, right? They said Brian Robinson sat at Alabama for 5 years and waited for his chance. He never complained, like he never showed any dissent being there. He considered transferring, but he decided to stick it out. And there he was, setting the all-time bowl game record for Alabama for rushing yards in a game. And I think that game might have also severely helped him in the upcoming draft. I don't think he's going to be like the top running back or one of the top running backs. He doesn't have the physical like attributes, I don't think. But, you know, I think that game solidified him as a very good running back. I mean, anyone with eyes could see that he's been a very good running back all year. But he did it on the biggest stage. And also, that should make you guys happy. Someone showing out in a bowl game and improving their draft stock.
Actually, I mean, I kind of disagree with you. I think Robinson, if you'd asked me at the beginning of the year if I thought he would get drafted high, I'd say no, he'd probably get picked in like the 6th round or something. But I think he's played his way into being probably a late 3rd, early 4th round guy because he's not particularly flashy. Like, he's not fast, but actually size-wise, I mean, he's like 6'2", 220. He's pretty sturdy. And NFL running backs, one of the biggest concerns with him is always about durability. And, you know, a lot of these bigger backs like Derrick Henry, who Roll Tide, went to Alabama, are showing that they're able to have success because of their size. And I think B-Rob could be a sneaky good pick for a team that's looking for just a sturdy running back to go in there. Not a 3-down running back, but a guy on 1st and 2nd down, or if you're in a short yard situation that can get you those yards.
Yeah. And I hate to interrupt you, but we've just been joined by our special guest. So I'm going to go ahead and put him in here. And we'd like to welcome to the show former Alabama safety, Mr. Roman Harper. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, sorry Stingray couldn't make it. I know he was originally the one who reached out to you, but super
You're
excited
stuck with
to have
us.
you. Yeah, you're stuck
Sorry,
with us.
Next man up, man. That's the mentality, right? Next man up. Sorry, I'm just doing some laundry, man. I got
you're good.
4 kids and a wife, man, and I'm the one that does laundry. So sometimes it starts to add up pretty fast.
So, you know, former Alabama player, won a Super Bowl with the Saints, but what have you been up to recently?
Oh, man, I working with SEC Network and, you know, really just enjoying this part of my life and this new chapter, this new journey. It's been awesome. And we got 2 SEC teams in the college football playoff final. So just looking forward to going up to Indianapolis. I fly out tomorrow. Should be nice. Had a great New Year's and Christmas. Really just because Alabama won the Cotton Bowl. So I was there for that, and it was great. So I really have 0 complaints, guys.
Yeah, and I seem to remember you catching a lot of heat, you know, on social media the last time Georgia and Alabama played, right? You were on there saying Alabama's going to run Georgia. So how do you see the rematch replaying?
So I never said that they were going to run them. People got mad and got on their feelings because I said Georgia didn't have a great pass rush, that they have really big and physical guys up front that are great at stopping the run, but they're not like excellent pass rushers. That's their best pass rusher had been suspended due to off-field actions and things of that nature. So it just didn't look the same. I know what I'm looking at when I'm watching these teams and breaking down the tape because emotionally, I'm not invested in it like that. Once I stop playing ball, I just kind of look at it for the X's and O's. And to me, that's been the best part of it, is that I don't hold on to plays that I messed up, or emotionally I'm not attached to it. So now I can just watch it from just a pure football eye, and just know what I look at, and then just go from there and just talk about what I see. And I saw the matchups. I think this game would be a little bit differently, because I think Georgia will go about it defensively a little bit differently. I think they will. If you just listen to what the coordinator Dan Lanning is saying, what George is saying, and some of the pressers, is that they cannot do or allow what happened last game to happen, and that was that Bryce Young. They didn't feel like they pressured Bryce Young enough. So if I'm listening to that, they're going to be blitzing Bryce Young from the moment he gets off the bus and the moment they get into the stadium. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that dynamic plays off. How does Brian Robinson fit into that equation? And when I say Brian Robinson, I don't mean about how many rushing yards, but more how great of a blocker is he on those second, third down pass plays. And when Georgia decided to bling Nakobe Dean, Quay Walker, Channing Tindall in those intermediate blitzes in the middle of the offensive line, how does Brian impact those? How does he pick up those blitzes? He's been excellent when doing that all year long, and also him just kind of sneaking out of the backfield. He had 3 or 4 really big plays for Alabama. It's going to take Brian Robinson to have one of his better games, especially when it comes to picking up protections.
So obviously you're a former defensive player, and a great one at that. But what do you think that sets Georgia's defense apart from all the other ones that are in the college football? Like, people were talking about Georgia being potentially one of the best defenses of all time. What do you think sets them apart this year?
Well, number one, how big they are. They're a very big team, especially up front. They got massive human beings up there. They stop the run. They don't allow anybody to get anything going in that. And then I thought the most impressive thing watching them all year long was their linebackers, Nakobe Dean, Quay Walker, and Channing Tindall. And of course, Nolan Smith, but he's more of an edge guy for them. But those 3 guys that rotate in the middle, they fly around, they hit people, they're smart, they're instinctive, and they get there with bad intentions. So they are the tone setters in that defense. They make plays in the second, like in the pass game and the run game. They just affect the game so many ways. And teams can't run by them because they have such great team speed. And so often we're used to so many college teams now where, freshmen, sophomores, juniors. Well, this team is a lot of juniors and seniors. It's a lot of guys that's played a lot of ball together. They've been through the wars. They've lost a lot of games. They've won a lot of games. So this is a totally different team that most people are used to seeing in college, and they're definitely showing it. They are experienced, and they're just so good at the linebacker position. To answer your question, it's the linebackers.
Okay, and then I was just kind of wondering. Obviously, you said you're not emotionally invested in it the way you were as a player, but having played before the Nick Saban era, what does it feel like to watch your alma mater have this kind of dominance now in college football?
Well, it's a run that's probably never going to be matched again. Let's just be flat out honest. And I don't think people understand when you're living in the good old times or the good days, you don't really appreciate it as much. But I'm on the outside looking in, so I do appreciate it because I was there when we were not winning championships. We were not winning that many games. So, and I'm just thankful, actually. I'm thankful that Nick allows me to come around and be a part of the program whenever I choose to. I'm thankful that they have a completely open door policy with me, that they allow me in the locker room around the players, especially because I didn't play for him. And he's gotten to know me over the years, and respectfully, I respect him and he respects me, and it's great. So the relationship that I've been able to build with him and that program since then has been awesome. So I'm very thankful for that. And just straight up, I got to be 100% with you guys. I'm even more thankful how much money they won me when I was playing in the locker room, when I was playing football and betting all my teammates. Now I just can't find anybody to bet me anymore. So even all my Georgia guys that were all talking earlier, they're all quiet now. I ain't heard a peep of them all week. So we'll see if anybody calls before Monday.
Yeah, ain't no one betting against Alabama anymore, unfortunately.
Well, I don't know. According to Vegas, somebody is. So Yeah. So it'll be very interesting how this whole thing plays out. But Vegas, they don't care who wins the game. They're more interested in making money.
So I got one more quick question before I hand it over to my co-host. But Pete Golding, right? I'm sure you see all the hate he gets on social media, especially Twitter. But statistically, if you look at the numbers, this Alabama defense has actually been pretty darn good this year. So how do you think this team ranks to some of like the more dominant defenses of the past?
Well, it just hasn't been as pretty. They've gotten better all year long. They've had some really bad games, some uncharacteristically bad games. They figured out who they are, and sometimes that's what it takes, especially with a young team. This team is still a very young team. Their best players are sophomores and juniors. They're not seniors, and that's what we're so used to having under Nick Saban as a dominant defense and things of that nature. At least Alabama fans are, and that's what they're used to. But in today's college football, Nick says it all the time. You got to win by scoring points. You have to score points. And the rules don't allow you to play shutout or just lockdown defense anymore. So you got to be creative in the things that you do and schematically as well. And I think Pete has done a great job. And when I watched them since the Arkansas game, I saw a little bit of a change. And it's not about schematics as much as they started to figure out who they are. Will Anderson was becoming the leader, Henry To'oTo'o and Christian Harris. These guys just started figuring out the linebacker position, and they started to come together. Dallas Turner's another guy who's really emerged as a true freshman, edge rush player that's really making plays for this Alabama team. And it was all about the secondary. Arkansas, I thought it was one of the better games that the front seven had played all year long. It was just a secondary that gave up a lot of explosive pass plays. And as they continue to nullify those explosive pass plays, giving up less and less every game, the defense looks better every game. You got to remember, Georgia only allowed 80-something yards a game, and Alabama was only behind them by like a yard on the season. So they were been good all year long. It's not like it just happened out of nowhere. The biggest thing was they were giving up too many explosive pass plays, and I think as they have improved in that stat, the whole defense has improved as a whole.
Gotcha. And we do have one viewer question real quick. So Christian asks, would you say that if Alabama wins, would this be Nick Saban's most unlikely championship? And also, what do you see Alabama doing on offense, like differently to have success against Georgia this game?
I don't know. Look, man, Nick's won so much. Definitely, I don't ever say like I count them out. I didn't think they'd be where they are right now. I would say that. I picked Georgia to win the SEC, and I picked Georgia to win the national championship preseason. So, but as I got closer to the game, I just look at the matchups, and I thought Alabama had the matchup favor. Not only that, but mentally, beat Alabama. Sometimes, I can sit up here and say like, oh, I want to go run a marathon tomorrow, but until I run a marathon, can I really do it? And that's where I feel like Georgia's been at. That's where I still feel like they still are at. That not only that, but the fans feel the pressure. That Georgia hadn't been in a tough game all year long until they played against Alabama, and they were not able to respond once they got down. So it'll be interesting to see how that happens. And I could see Georgia winning this game by 2 touchdowns. I wouldn't be shocked by that, because if Georgia gets up and they play the game on their terms, they will win the game because they're able to run the football and they choke you out on defense like they do a UFC fight. They get on top of you, they ground and pound you, and it's over. But if Alabama is able to respond, Georgia went up 10-0 against Alabama, then Alabama ran off 17 straight. Georgia scores 7, and then Alabama hits off another whatever point straight. So, and Georgia could never recover after that. And so that is how Alabama has to be able to respond when Georgia makes plays, because we all know how good Georgia is. Talent-wise, from top to bottom of the roster, they're more talented than Alabama. But Alabama has the best players in the most important positions, which is quarterback, head coach, and if you look on defense, who's the best defensive player in the game, you'd say Will Anderson. Most people, if you know what you're looking at, would say Will Anderson. The Kobe Dean is a close second, but Will Anderson is the best player on defense on both for either sides of the ball. So Alabama has those advantages. They just have to take advantage of it, and their best players have to play really good to win that game, and that's what you saw out of Bryce Young. He literally won that game for them in the SEC championship by his play, his decision-making, and his ability to create with his legs and not turn the football over.
So going back on your defenses when you played at Alabama, and you look at those defenses and you look at the defenses now, what is the biggest difference? Because you hardly ever see shutouts or a real defensive game in college football anymore.
Well, the biggest thing is size. They are way bigger than we are. Number 2, the rules. You have to be able to score. The rules don't allow you to do that. The RPO game is a different thing where now offensive linemen can come 3 yards down the field and and still throw the ball. Where if I'm a safety, if I see an offensive lineman come down the field, that's a run trigger for me. I'm ready to play the run, but then I still got to play the pass. So then it just makes everybody slower to think and softer at times on the point of attack. But that's just the name of the game. People want to see points. They don't want to see shutout defensive games. They just don't want to see that. When we beat Tennessee, 6-3? They don't want to see that anymore. They just don't want to see it. So I thought it was a great game, but people don't want to see that. And people pay a lot of money and watch a lot of TV to watch Alabama score a lot of points. And that's how they win games now, scoring 30-something, 40 points a game. That's just every day. That streak of 30 straight, 30-point games for Alabama is like ridiculous at this point. So we see the game and the team has changed over time. And Nick Saban's done a great job of adjusting with the times and keeping up offensively. That when everybody else was speeding up the pace and Alabama was playing they were only getting 60-something, 70 plays in a game. He's like, we have to speed up the tempo. All these teams, we're having to defend 80-something, 90 plays defensively, and we're only playing 60-something. We're tiring our own guys out. We have to be more efficient about where we're going about these games. So I give him a lot of credit for when you're at the top of the game, still being able to change and evolve when everybody else says you got all the answers. He's like, no, we don't. We have to continue to get better and change things up, or we won't stay at the top.
Gotcha. Joe, do you have anything?
Yeah, I was just going to say, do you think Alabama will be complacent with their play calling offensively? I know Bill Bryan has a tendency this year of kind of sitting back and waiting for things to happen instead of taking action and taking charge.
No, I don't think so. The last time the SEC championship, I thought Bryce Young had to throw the ball 45 to 50 times to win that game. And I'm in the same boat this time. Maybe not as many. I'm thinking around 38 to 42 passes, 38 to 45 passes. You got to open it up. Your only advantage on offense is the quarterback, not the offensive line, not the receivers, not the running back. It's the quarterback. You must unleash this young man and let him do what he does and go out there and win you a game. He's effective. He's accurate. His ball placement is amazing, and he doesn't turn the football over unless he's pressured. And if you're Georgia, you want to try and pressure this man. You cannot allow Bryce Young to beat you, and you have to blitz him. You have to do whatever it takes to make him uncomfortable, and just hope that he makes a mistake. He didn't play great against Cincinnati, but Alabama was able to run the ball effectively, and I thought that was the game plan to win that game. This game, it has to go back to what it used to be, and Alabama has to throw the football. You're not going to be able to run the football against Georgia's defensive front. They're just too big and they're too good, and your offensive line isn't better than theirs. So that's not an advantage. Your only advantage is Bryce Young. Cut this young man loose, and I think they're going to do that. Bill O'Brien's not a dumb coach. He knows what he's doing. He's a really good play caller. He struggled at being the GM of the Houston Texans. That's why he's not there anymore. It wasn't because of the play caller or coaching. It's because of the GM part of it.
So obviously we've been sitting here talking about this game and previewing it. What is the official Roman Harper score prediction for this game?
I don't have a score. I don't do scores. I do think, I'm not going to sit up here and say that Georgia's going to beat Alabama. I'm not going to be the one to go out there and stick my neck out there and say that Georgia's going to do something that they haven't done before. And I do think that Georgia is a more talented team, has a more talented roster from top to bottom. But Alabama, in the biggest games, in the biggest moments, the two most important things that matter the most in college football are the head coach and the quarterback. And Alabama has that advantage in both of those categories. So for that reason alone, I'm going to continue to roll with the Tide.
Love to hear it.
Thank you so much for joining us, Roman. But before you go, we gotta let you give a quick shout out. So tell everyone where they can find you, what you've been up to, what you're gonna do in the future.
Yeah, man. You can find me on Twitter at Hart41. I don't tweet a lot. I just not a huge social media guy. It don't pay me enough, so I don't really care about it. And then on Instagram, I'm Harp_41. So I'm more active on that, but mostly just because I'm showing off my kids and doing daddy daycare stuff. So it's always fun for me, and I keep it loose. And my foundation, harpershope41.org. You can come check us out. We're always trying to do more and more. Been really kind of slow actually the last year just because of COVID. Just want to be safe. Everybody stay safe, stay smart. And just knowing that this thing's still going around spreading like wildfire. So mask up, do what you got to do because we don't want to lose any more family members.
Gotcha. Well, Mr. Roman Harper, thank you so much for joining us. It was
Thank you.
a great time. So,
Hey, man, thank you guys for having me, man. Anytime.
Thank you.
And appreciate you guys. Great questions. And because I'm not working today, I can say it. So roll tide.
Roll Tide.
Well, thank you again
All right.
to Mr. Roman Harper for joining us. That was, very informative. I'm a huge football nerd, so I love the X's and O's. Like when people get into that, I love it. And,
He does such a great job on the SEC network too. One of the reasons why whenever I'm flipping through the channels, I'm like, okay, this person's on SEC network. But when it's Roman Harper, I know I gotta tune in because he's always got so many great things to say, X's and O wise, and he's just a great guy, and I'm so thankful to speak to him on here. I get nervous when I ask these former players and big time guys questions, but it's very awesome, and that's why I love doing what we're doing.
Yeah, Spencer says great job if you're still listening. But so now that we had the professional breakdown, right, the guy who does it for a living, the former player, let's go to the amateur breakdown. 3 dudes talking about football
three
games.
idiots.
Yeah. So, just right off the bat, how do y'all see this playing out?
Well, since Joe is occupied by something off screen,
My water bottle.
Well, I think it's gonna come down to a lot of the things it did last time, and I think if Alabama can play the same game they did last time, I think they can win. But the problem is Georgia's seen us. Georgia knows what Bryce Young is capable of, and Georgia's going to game plan for him. I think, like Roman said, they're going to blitz. They're going to blitz heavy, and we all know how our offensive line does against blitzing. We saw it against Auburn. Offense did not play. I mean, passing game was not great against Cincinnati, but I think that was by plan. I don't think we really wanted to open it up. But it's going to come down to the same X factors as the last game it did. Offensive line and how we contain Stetson Bennett. Stetson Bennett has not been a major threat all year, but Zach Calzada was not a threat, and he absolutely torched our defense. So
can't wait to play him again next year at Auburn.
Yeah,
Ain't no way he repeats. I'm saying it right now. He is not a great quarterback, right? Like, he beat Alabama. That's a great thing. But he's not a great quarterback. He had a great game. I'm not going to put him down. He played incredible, and he beat us fair and square, right? But he's also I don't think he can do that consistently. I don't think he's that good. So I'm not super worried. When I saw he was transferring to Auburn, it actually made me happy because that means that Caleb Williams probably is not transferring there. I know that was a big rumor.
Well, where Caleb Williams could transfer. That's Ole Miss.
Or Georgia, I saw too.
No, yeah. I wouldn't be surprised with Ole Miss because obviously Lane Kiffin and
USC. That's where I think he's going to
Really?
But they just got the number 1 quarterback in the country. So do you think he goes somewhere else then?
Yeah, I think he does.
It's all tricky, and we're getting way off topic.
Yeah, Georgia also has a 5-star and whatever, but apparently he's – anyway, yeah, so, I mean –
I think here's the problem. Last time we played Georgia, I wasn't nervous at all. I felt like we had it in the bag because there wasn't much pressure on us. I think this go around, we have more pressure on us because we beat them, even though we're not favored in this game. Like last I checked, it was Georgia by 3. And I agree with Clack. I think even though Roman Harper complimented Bill O'Brien, I tend to disagree. I think that we will be very complacent with the play calling and just assume that the same game plan we had last time with John Mechie in the game, and I just don't think that we're going to be able to use that same game plan. And I don't think Bill O'Brien has done a great job of adjusting this year when his initial game planning doesn't quite work out for him. So I don't know. And I really thought we would win again. I was drinking the Bama Kool-Aid, and as we get closer and closer to game day, I'm feeling less and less confident about it.
Yeah. Okay, quick question. What flavor would the Bama Kool-Aid be? I know it's got to be red, but like
Fruit punch.
Fruit punch.
Fruit punch, yeah.
All right.
Bama's a classic team, they don't.
It's the best one. It's like the best, most tasty.
Are you calling Bama tasty?
No.
Bama's
Just saying
very
pause.
tasty when it comes to football. So, yeah, I don't know. You guys pretty much hit on everything. I think I'm picking Alabama to win again. I feel like I legally have to, right? A lot of people are going to be mad if I say, Joey Chief among them. He was letting our very own Clack have it for not picking Alabama.
Yeah, I'm well aware.
But I got to pick Alabama. I just think, Roman Harper made a great point in that if you just listen to what Dan Lanning is saying, and you can't take what he says at face value, right? Everything is mind games at this point. But they want to bring a lot more pressure. And also, as much as you like to make fun of the excuse for it, apparently the entire Georgia defensive line was sick, made them a lot more tired. Makes sense. So maybe hurry up won't work as well. But I still think that Bryce Young can abuse their secondary enough, right? You look at, he didn't have a great game against Cincinnati. Cincinnati had they definitely had the best cornerback pairing in the country this year. So I'm not too worried about that, especially because they were just running the ball at will.
Yeah, that game was a non-factor. We knew they'd have to run the ball to win, and so that's all they had to do.
Well,
I know Bryce had a pick, but I'm
that
not
was
too
an ugly
worried.
throw.
If offensive line can do what they did in the first game, I'm less worried because I know I have a lot of faith in Bryce. I know that if there's somebody open, or even if somebody's not open, he's going to find a way to extend the plays. But if the offensive line is getting manhandled and Georgia's going to just blitz the crap out of us, that's when I tend to think this could turn into a blowout the other way in Georgia's favor.
Yeah, and I don't know. I will say too, Cincinnati, it's kind of like the Notre Dame game last year. Alabama scored 2 touchdowns and the game was over, and they just went to conservative play calling pretty much. Didn't want to give away too much, so they have their whole playbook available against Georgia, which is definitely a huge plus. I mean, I'm not saying Georgia-Michigan was any closer, so the same applies, but you compare the two teams this year, Alabama's offense has been a lot more prolific than Georgia's offense, in my opinion. So I think that them having their full playbook is huge. The injuries on the offensive line kind of worry me a little bit. I know they said Emil Ekiyor is going to be back probably. His parents even tweeted he's fine. But I know JC Latham was seeing some playtime at right guard last week. He was a true freshman offensive tackle. And Chris Owens got hurt. That was kind of a big deal. People love to hate on him, but he's played every position on the offensive line at a decent level. So that's a pretty big blow. It's just, I don't see the offensive line having the same performance they did last time. I could see them playing well, but I don't think they give up 0 sacks. I don't think they just bully Georgia like they did last time. And that kind of
actually wouldn't be surprised if this is a low scoring game, just because Georgia's offense isn't all that great. I mean, if Alabama can cover Brock Bowers, which was something they weren't able to do in the second half, I think our defense can put a lot of pressure on Stetson. And then obviously, we keep talking about Georgia's defense and how they're going to blitz and how we don't think Alabama's offensive line can hold up. I think Alabama has the edge if they can just get – it doesn't even have to be – the blocking doesn't have to be as dominant as it was last time, just a little bit better. And then I would like to see them – if you're going to run the ball up the middle, I'd rather see them run the ball with Trey Sanders up the middle. I think Brian Robinson excels on those off-tackle, half-pack stretch type runs that take a little bit longer to develop. I don't think he's all that great running it up the middle. I think that's where Trey Sanders excels. So if they can sprinkle Trey Sanders in a little bit more, I think he's got a lot of kind of a blend of that size and that power and that speed. And I think he will ultimately end up, if we do win this game, being an X factor for us. And I don't want to say that Billingsley will be an X factor, because I feel like we say that every week, and he's got one catch for 15 yards. But no, I think we haven't even touched on it yet. But I think an X factor for me would be the offensive line, and then individually Trey Sanders.
Well, I agree with everything y'all just said. I think both of y'all have great points.
Really? Because you're on your phone. What are you doing? You talking to a lady or something?
I think that this could be a really
close game. Couldn't have bet on Georgia.
I think this could be a really close game. I think it could be like the Clemson game a couple of years ago. I think it could go either way, or it could go like the first game against Georgia. There's so many ways this could go, and it's all about how the offensive line plays. Does the defense play good? Thankfully, Josh Jobe is not playing. That's huge for Bama. It comes down to it could be anything can happen in this game. It's just like it's just all about what Bama team. I mean, we know. I mean, Georgia's going to show out and give us their best. We know that. It's just going to be about what Bama team shows up. If we show up like we did the first game or like we did against Ole Miss, I think we win. But if the Auburn team shows up or whatever, then it's not going to be pretty.
Yeah, know what I can say for this game then? Get your popcorn ready. But I don't like the Josh Jobe slander. I think that he's very good. Not very, but he's pretty good when healthy. I will say I'm thankful he's not playing injured. I would take a healthy Josh Jobe over like Jalen Armour Davis.
Or Daniel Wright.
Yeah, or Daniel Wright. But injured Josh Jobe, I would not take over them. Like, I think it's good. He needed the time off, and it's also good for him, like, coming to the draft and stuff potentially. So
I do have to ask, because it's been a hot topic this week on Bama Twitter. What are your guys' thoughts on the whole crane emoji next to name?
I think let people have fun, but they're rightfully so going to get clowned if we lose. I think that anytime you see something like that, right, like you got to at the end of the day, it's a fandom. People should be allowed to have as much fun with it as they want. And I kind of like that even, the athletic director like Greg Byrne got in on it. The Alabama football Twitter got in on it. So it's pretty cool that it reached that far. But I will say we deserve to be absolutely clowned by Georgia Twitter if we lose with all this gi emoji stuff in the.
Yeah, no, and I think we're all very much so on the same page. It's not that I'm sitting here like an old man saying, "Oh, I hate this emoji. The emojis are stupid." Like, I personally, I love it, but it's the fact that I'm already nervous about this game. And like you talked about, like, I just don't like putting that bad mojo, like, because it's a celebration. Like, our guys do it when we score. So in my mind, it's like kind of like if I was a Georgia player, I'd be like, oh, they've got all that in their bio. Like, they've got some big heads. So I'm a fan of the emoji. I'm not going to use it though, because I know it's bad mojo, and I don't think we need any of that yummy rat poison going into this game. But people were not too happy by my take on that for sure. I thought Clack was going to back me up, but
Joe, that happens to you every day with your tweets.
Oh, you're one to talk. I tried to get you to join me by putting the rat poison emoji next to your Twitter name, but you sat it out wisely, so I applaud you for that.
Like, I mean, come on, Joe. You have some hot takes. We know this.
Clack, you're not in the clear either with your takes that you have, and
you're just more cavalier in your takes.
What?
You're more bold.
I mean, my takes are good.
You had a tweet like 2 weeks ago about how people weren't ready for something, and you still haven't even tweeted it yet. It's pinned on your profile.
What are you talking about?
Said, I think we can probably end with this because we're kind of out of stuff to talk about for the football national championship game. We're talking about Joe and Clack's Twitter. Real quick, elephant emoji, tide emoji, roll tide. But he said, I think it's going to come down to Bryce's quick reads. And, I agree. But to a point, I think one of Bill O'Brien's weaknesses this year is he's not good at adjusting when we should do like quick passes versus like deep pass. He loves long developing routes when our offensive line is playing bad and not giving Bryce enough time to like hit those long developing routes. You hear it all the time. Auburn sacked Alabama 7 times. Well, how do you think they got those 7 sacks, right? Bill O'Brien kept calling, shot plays or long developing routes, play actions when Bryce is getting eaten up. So I think it would depend on his quick reads if they, play call for it. But I'm not too confident that they'll be able to do that, which is the problem. I don't know about
no, I agree. It's athlete-wise, I won't say I feel nervous about this game athlete-wise. I think it really just boils down to Bill O'Brien and the lack of faith I have in him calling plays and being able to adjust. And then Pete Golding's been great this year, second half of the year when it comes to adjusting. But I can totally just see this game being a game when both of our coordinators are just in way over their heads and like I have no idea what to do and we get blown out.
But yeah, I mean, I think unless y'all have anything else to add.
Score prediction, real quick.
Oh, I said in Rolling with the Tide, I said 31-24.
I'll say Georgia 31, Bama 17.
Oh yeah, mine was Bama, Georgia. So Bama 31, Georgia 24.
Joe, you're going with Georgia? Yeah, I'm going with Georgia. I'm with Joe.
Y'all some haters.
I'm going with Georgia.
I can't believe this. We had Alabama great Roman Harper on here. You're slandering his name, picking Georgia.
But he said it himself.
I gotta go with Georgia. I'm gonna go 31-14. I wanted 31-17, but I don't want to have the same one as Joe. So I think Georgia finally gets their revenge. I think this is their year.
It's really not even about hating. I think it's just about complacency for us offensively and lack of experience for us as well. And the fact that it's, Georgia, we've been dogging them for all these years, no pun intended, because they're Georgia, dogging them, making fun of them. I mean, myself included. And I think this is the game that they finally just flip a big old middle finger to the Crimson Tide family.
All right. Well, I mean, I think that's it for us. You can catch us on Sunday. We're doing our NFL show if you like NFL football. I know we've got a lot of new viewers here recently because we've been making a push. So for those that don't know, we're doing Sunday night scoreboard, Sunday, 5 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Eastern for a weirdo like Joe.
Eastern time is far superior, but continue.
I'm sorry. You said something, Clack?
Remember, we were changing this week's showtime. I just didn't want you to tell the people wrong.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So we will.
I'm thinking like 7 Central.
We'll tweet it out. Clack's got a hot date. We got to switch it up a little bit.
No, Clack does not have
We'll tweet it out when
Pamela Henderson.
Time. So we'll see you then on Sunday. But from the boys from the Bama Brigade, roll Tide and good luck to Alabama.
Roll Tide.